welcome. Today the topic of discussion is dispersed system. This is the first part of our discussion where we will discuss the basics of the dispersed system. The dispersed system generally consists of two phases. A phase called as internal phase or dispersed phase, which may be a solid or a liquid, that is distributed throughout a continuous dispersion medium. Based on the size and the nature of the dispersed medium, the systems are classified into three types. You should remember, the dispersion system is classified into three types. First one, we call it as the molecular dispersion. Number two, we call it as colloidal dispersion. Number three, we call it as coarse dispersion. When we say of the molecular dispersion, it is represented to those substances which generally in a dispersed system has a size less than 1 nanometer. Colloidal dispersions generally ranges from 1 nanometer to 0.5 micrometer. In some cases, it is considered to be 1 nanometer to 1 micrometer, this range. Okay. Next, we have something called as coarse dispersions, which has a particle size more than 0.5 micrometer. Generally, if we consider these molecular dispersions are invisible in the microscope. They generally involve your ions and the glucose molecules which are soluble in the medium. So these are called molecular dispersions. Actually, the solution what we prepare is the other synonym term for molecular dispersion. Next, we have nanoparticulate systems, that is for the colloidal dispersion. This is any kind of nanoparticulate dispersion system. It may be your nanoparticles, that is inorganic nanoparticles, gold, silver nanoparticles, or it may be colloids, hydrocolloids of gums, or you can take the example of various types of drug deliveries such as liposomes, nanosomes, nanocapsules, etc. Generally, for coarse dispersion, if you consider, the coarse dispersion is classified into broadly as pharmaceutical emulsions and suspensions. Now, if you consider for the visibility, the molecular dispersions are invisible in electron microscope itself. It is invisible. Whereas for the colloidal dispersion, it is visible under ultra microscope but not under compound microscope. That is your conventional microscope what we use in our daily labs. When you go for the coarse dispersion, it is visible under normal microscope. So beyond that, that is under visibility under ultra microscope or your electron microscope is not possible. Molecular dispersions can diffuse or pass through normal filter papers, ultra filter papers and semi-permeable membranes. So irrespective, because it is within the solvent, so it as a solvent can pass through the semi-permeable membrane or the conventional filter, so it will pass through all the filters. When you go for the colloidal dispersion, it can pass through the normal filters. The condition, it should have not high viscosity. So without a low viscosity, if you are taking the colloidal dispersions, it can pass through the normal filter papers. But it cannot pass through semi-permeable membrane or dialysis membrane. Okay, you have to remember this thing. In the case of coarse dispersion, it cannot pass through the even through the normal filter papers of micron size. So Wattman filter paper would be the better example. What can I say can help you in this case. Acha. In the molecular dispersion, this diffusion process is rapid. In the colloidal dispersion, the diffusion process is slow, and in the coarse dispersion, there is no diffusion. So this is the characterization of the dispersion system. Now molecular dispersions we will be discussing, or you might have discussed in the chapter of solution. So we are not going to deal with as a dispersed system over here. The topic that is to be concerned of is two things. Now dispersions, we will consider two things. One is your lyophilic colloids, one is your colloidal system, another is your coarse dispersion. As I told you, coarse dispersion is further classified into emulsions and suspensions. Now if you consider the dispersion system, colloidal dispersion system, this colloidal dispersion system is further classified into three types. You have to remember this thing, make it point. Three types: lyophilic, solvent loving; lyophobic, solvent fearing; associative colloids, formed by the association of subcolloidal particles. That's why they are using associative colloids, the term. Let us go for the lyophilic colloids. So as I told you, it has a high affinity for the dispersion medium, and that is enabling the process or enhancing the process of solvation. These generally includes the molecules, organic molecules like gelatin, acacia, insulin, albumin, polystyrene. On the other hand, if you go for lyophobic colloids, so let me say one thing, for lyophilic colloids, generally prepared by dissolving the material within the solvent. So if you dissolve it within the solvent, if you mix it properly, it will get dispersed. When you go for the lyophobic colloids, they are prepared by two methods. So generally, since the lyophobic colloids, it has a low affinity for the dispersion medium, which includes mainly the inorganic materials like gold, silver, sulfur, silver iodide, etc. So they are prepared by two ways. So first one, we call it as a comminution process, that is a size reduction process involving milling using colloidal mill or any other milling process. And the second one is called as a condensation method or aggregation method, which is done by enhancing the supersaturation of subcolloidal particles. So first one is called generally as top to bottom technique, where I am reducing the particle size, and the next one is called bottom to top technique, where smaller colloidal particles joins together to form a colloidal particle. As I told you before, the concept of colloids is somewhat synonymous to nanoparticulate system. So that's why the concepts and the theories of colloidal system will imply on the nanoparticulate drug delivery systems. So you should be very, very accustomed, or you should be having a total grip of this topic, because in future this topic is going to be discussed in some other terms. So that time you should not get confused of between the colloids and the nanoparticles. Last one, we have something called as associative colloids. So these are generally the micelles, which generally forms by hydrophilic or lipophilic portions that are being solvated upon the medium of the given surfactants. So generally they comprises of the aggregation of small organic molecules or ions with which results in the formation of the colloids like SLS twins. So these are subcolloidal particles which associates to form a micelle in which it entraps the material, and this micelle is of the colloidal size. So that's what the discussion we are saying, that associative colloids or the micelles are also a type of colloid system. When we come for the coarse dispersion, that is visible under, as I told you, visible under normal microscope, and it cannot pass through any short or filter papers. They are broadly classified, as I told you, into two types, that is your suspensions and emulsions. To remember, so theory, I will discuss the theory very briefly over here. If you are interested, I will upload a video very soon on the theory of emulsions and suspensions, or a theory on coarse dispersal system, so you can go through it. So coarse dispersion, we are broadly classified in two types, as I told you, suspensions and emulsions. Let us go for the suspensions. They are generally of the size range greater than 0.1 micrometer, the dispersed phase. Acha. For when we are preparing for oral drug deliveries like antibiotics or pediatric suspensions, so generally antibiotics generally comprises of 125 to 500 mg per 5 ml. On the other hand, pediatrics, if you consider, they are little bit having less amount of the solid particles than that of the antibiotics. Parenteral suspensions which are prepared generally comprises of 0.5% to 30% of the dispersed phase. Okay. So generally in a suspension, if you consider, the viscosity with the particle size is an important criteria that we'll discuss in a later part of our discussion. When we are preparing topical suspensions for dermatological, suppose it is used for dermatological cosmetic use or for protective purpose, the concentration of the dispersed phase are generally greater than 20%. Okay. So generally when we go for discussing the theory of the suspension, so you should remember that the solids which are getting dispersed in the suspension, the solid is dispersed in a liquid medium. So solids what is getting dispersed are broken into small particles. Now when it is broken into small particles, it is increasing the surface area. Increasing of the surface area increases the surface free energy. As the surface area increases, it increases surface free energy. Now this extra energy makes the process of suspension thermodynamically unstable. We know Gibbs free energy equation, that is delta G equals to surface tension multiplied by delta A. So if the particle size is decreasing, so automatically what is happening is particle size is decreasing, automatically the surface area starts to increase. That is, the del A starts to increase. As the del A starts to increase, automatically the del G will also start to increase if my surface tension is kept constant. So that extra amount of energy will make the system unstable. Due to this instability, what happens is particles starts to come closer to each other to form flocculation. Due to this flocculation, that is the light fluffy conglomerates that is formed or held together by van der Waals force of attraction, ultimately results in lowering of the surface tension and the surface free energy. So like this, it stabilizes the system by the flocculation. But you have to make it clear, that I will discuss later, that if flocculation leads to the solid aggregates or cake formation, that results in the permanent separation of the solid phase from the dispersed medium. Okay. So this is one important consideration that has to be considered. On the other hand, if instead of altering the surface area, another factor if we have, that is surface tension. So if we start to reduce the surface tension, even it will reduce the surface free energy. How it will reduce the surface free energy? It will reduce the surface free energy by addition of surfactants. If you add surfactants, automatically the surfactants will balance themselves between the two phases and it will lower the surface free energy and it will enable the stability of the suspension. So obviously a good suspending agent along with the particle size are very important for the stability of the suspension. Let us go for the emulsion. So generally emulsions are of two types. There may be multiple emulsions that I am not considering over here, generally of two types. One is oil in water type of emulsion, one is water in oil type of emulsion. So oil in water type means dispersed phase is oil and a medium is water. Another one is water in oil type of emulsion, that means dispersed phase is water in which is getting dispersed in the oil. The general tests for emulsion includes dye test, conductivity test, microscopic methods by which we can detect whether it is oil in water or water in oil. So that is, you know it previously. I am not going in details. External, so emulsifiers, generally what we use for the emulsifiers. So if it is an external emulsion, an external emulsion can be oil in water type or water in oil type. So generally the emulsifiers which are used are SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, triethylamine stearate, sodium oleate, glyceryl monostearate. On the other hand, pharmaceutically, water in oil type of emulsion, if you consider, that is used for mainly external purpose, includes polyvalent soaps as calcium palmitate, solvitin esters, that is PAN, cholesterol, wool fat, etc. Also, we have pharmaceutically oral emulsions which are generally oil in water type. You should remember this. So what is the use of pharmaceutical oil in water type emulsions? How they helpful? Oral drug delivery. Firstly, it masks the unpleasant taste of the drug by encapsulating the drug within the oil phase. Secondly, disperse oil soluble drugs within the oil phase. Thus, it results in the proper solubilization process. For novel drug deliveries like the intravenous administration of Taxol is also being done by this oil in water type of emulsion. So generally for this IV Taxol administration, this and all the other things, generally we go for using non-ionic surfactants, which is the most common name is twins. Let us come for the theory of the emulsion. Now if I discuss the theory of emulsion, let us say it in a very simple way. You take a oil and you take water. You mix the oil and water. What do you find? The oil and water separates after few moments. How much you try to mix them, it doesn't mix in each other. What is the cause? You might be saying, sir, there is interfacial tension. You go little inside. What is the cause? If you say of the interfacial tension or surface tension, the word which comes before that is some kind of attractive forces which acts on the molecules. That we call it as the adhesive force and the cohesive force. Cohesive force is the force within the same type of molecules. Adhesive force is the force between the different types of molecules. Generally, when my phase is getting separated, it is only because a high amount of cohesive force that exists within the molecules of the two phases and less adhesive force, that is the force between the force of attraction between the oil and the water phase. So what we can do? The only thing we can do to stabilize it is to reduce the adhesive force. to reduce the cohesive force and increase the adhesive force. So we cannot reduce the cohesive force of a molecule because it is the nature. What we can do, we can enhance the adhesive force. So how we can enhance the adhesive force? By using a third substance called as emulsifying agents. So nowadays we generally use emulsifying agents like surfactants, specifically twin spans. So they are being commonly used for the purpose. So by this way we go for the stability. Now how these surfactants act on the different emulsions? So there are three concepts based upon which a surfactant acts, and that's why it enhances the adhesive force. First one is the monomolecular adsorption of surfactants on the dispersed medium. So it acts as a friend of communication between the two phases and stabilizes them by forming a monomolecular layer. Whereas the multimolecular film formation generally occurs in the case of when we are using lyophilic colloids. Specifically, if we say of acacia gum or Trayacan gum, in presence of water, it results in the formation of lyophilic colloids. And what it does, it forms a multi-layer between the various oil globules. So if I consider oil in water, so it forms a multi-layer system between the various oil globules. So basically what they do it in two ways. They actually is not reducing the surface tension. They are not reducing the surface tension. They are actually preventing the coalescence of the droplets together. Firstly, by forming multimolecular layer, and secondly, that is its effect, that is by enhancing the viscosity of the medium, the droplets are not able to form coalescence or join to each other, and they result in the phase separation. So that is a multimolecular film formation. So you have to remember, greater stability is achieved if it is providing greater viscosity. So last one is solid particle adsorption, that is specifically the various clays or gums, specifically various clays, inorganic substances which are finely divided particles which are used, and their work is to prevent the attraction between the various dispersed system droplets. So this is what we have for a general overview of discussion for the dispersed phase, where we have discussed much on the colloids, suspensions and emulsions. Thank you.